They don't say no.
You don't say no
Yeah.
when there's a war.
No.
You don't say.
You don't say no.
You don't say no. I'm gonna let everybody else die and not fight. Hashem was very upset the first time we did that at Sinai.
And
They didn't give you any.
I get on the bus. We traveled around the valley picking up troops from all different units. From the valley, we went to Haifa. From Haifa, we went to an army base near Ashdod, we'll call it, between Ashkelon and Ashdod. Ashdod, the base is maybe 40 kilometers south of Tel Aviv. This took all of Saturday night until early Sunday morning, we'll call it. Sitting on a bus, and you know, the country is in trouble. You're sitting on a bus. Eventually, I got to my unit, which was stationed near Beersheba, in a place called Se'elim. There was a lot of tanks there. It was a big staging ground for tanks. There, I met my unit, that I did reserve duty with them for the first time in June. We're in October. We barely knew each other. The tanks were ready. They had gasoline. They didn't have ammunition. They didn't have machine guns. They didn't have uniforms. They didn't have tools. Running around, there was guys that had the top part of a uniform, a pair of jeans, and sneakers, because there was no time to look for your fireproof overalls. You had to load up and get ready to roll. There's a certain amount of shells in a tank. There's 3 or 4 different types of shells in a tank. Nobody counted how many you took of what. Fill it up. Don't leave any empty space. Okay. We're talking the 7th, October 7th. We start driving the tanks on the treads towards the Suez Canal. Approximately 200 kilometers.
Is it by Egypt?
The northern side of the Suez Canal. The northern side is...
One of those people who are
Western
really
side-
terrified, but
western
like
side.
you're really calm
So
still.
isn't it Egypt? It's like, well, you've gone all the way like to the left.
near,
Is that what you're driving?
opposite Cantara. It doesn't matter. In the
So you're
meantime,
going south.
I'll show you later.
Were you one of the people who are really, really terrified, or were you like really calm and
Okay.
focused?
I wasn't terrified, because you know, people who've never, if you've never done it before, you're not terrified. You don't know what you're going to do. I mean, up until then, we had shot at wooden targets or old metal trucks or tanks left over from the '67 war, and nobody ever shot at you. You didn't know what it was. The 7th at night, we're driving on the tracks. It's a convoy. Let's say maybe 50 tanks, one after the other, and trucks, and jeeps, and excuse me, ambulances, command cars, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, sometime in the middle of the night, maybe 2 o'clock, dead tired. I can barely keep my head up. I'm standing in the turret, looking out, trying to keep my driver on the road. And all of a sudden I hear a crunch, and people outside the tank are yelling, "I'm drowning, I'm drowning." And I take a look, a water carrier with 1,000 liters of water didn't pull far enough off the road, and my tank ran over it. It ran over it, it exploded, and all the water came out. The guys that were sleeping beside it thought that they were drowning. And that's how that's the first my first engagement in war. And we keep driving towards the Suez Canal. Information as far as where the enemy is, if there's airplanes, are they on foot, are there tanks? Nothing. Nobody knew or nobody passed on. It was, kids, you can't believe.
Israeli.
It not Israeli. It can't happen like that anymore because of all the new machinery that they have, all the new computers. No, and you're trying to listen to the radio and you don't understand. People that are in hysterics, you're asking questions, they don't give you, you're asking, where's the enemy? And he says it's 4 o'clock this afternoon. What does that have to do with it? Nothing. Okay. We start driving. All of a sudden we hear on the radio, airplanes in 1 minute. Airplanes in 1 minute. Everybody raises their cannon and machine gun up to the sky, and all of a sudden 3 Egyptian jets pass over us, each one carrying 2 500-kilo bombs. And we didn't shoot at them, and they didn't shoot at us. They just passed over us, but all of a sudden it's like you feel like a dark shadow is passing over. My commander gives the word. We're rolling towards the Suez Canal. We didn't, about 30 kilometers before the Suez Canal, if you make a sharp right turn, there are the swamplands along the Mediterranean. There was an Israeli outpost there called Budapest. To get through the swamplands, the Israeli engineers, years before, had built a road that they called Kvish Plastic. It was a road, it was an engineering feat. The swamps were so wet that when you walked on the sand, water seeped up into your boots. That's how swampy it was. It's not built for tanks. We started driving on that road to try and save the guys that were in that outpost. Egyptian planes attacked us. To get off the road and out of the way of the planes, one tank goes left, one tank goes right. Left, right, left, right. Nothing straight down the middle. Nobody blew up from the planes. My commander got stuck in the mud. When I pulled him out of the mud, I fell off the end of the road and got stuck in the mud. If the tank is like this, I got stuck on a 45-degree angle. Okay?
Why were you outside the tank?
Huh?
Why were you outside the tank?
No, he's talking, he pulled him out with his
Pulled him
dick.
out with the tank. The tank pulled out his.
I couldn't.
Sorry. Oh, you pulled him out of the
I pulled
And
his
his
tank
tank
out of the
got hot.
mud,
With your
and with my tank, and I went off the end of the road and got stuck.
Oh,
Now
were
the
you-
cannon
were
going
you-
this way would go straight into the ground, going this way would face up to the sky. It's nighttime already. It's nighttime already. I told my crew, 3 other guys, four people in a tank, and we'll take the machine gun, we'll set an ambush 50 meters from the tank, not too close to the tank. But if they don't shoot at us, we don't shoot at them. That's the agreement that we made. All night. I'm talking from 9 o'clock at night till 4 o'clock in the morning. 20 meters from us, 20 paces from us, Egyptian commandos were crossing in front of us. If we would have shot at them, I wouldn't be here now. You couldn't.
Commandos are what again?
Commandos
Those are
on
special
foot
forces.
because of the swamp. They were trying to encircle around that outpost, They didn't get there in the end, but they were so close to us. We could hear them, we could smell them, we could see the cigarettes, and we were scared to cough. And the following morning, a Jeep comes by, throws us shovels, start digging yourselves out. Now on the tank that I was on the side of the wheels, there were metal plates to stop the cannon shells from getting to the wheels. We had to take the metal plates off. You had to dig in the mud that's full of water. You ever dig in mud that's full of water? You take out one shovelful, two shovelfuls fall in. All day we worked trying to dig ourselves out. Around 2:30 in the afternoon, I look up and I see an airplane in the sky with a bomb, and he's coming to give us the bomb as a present. I saw, because of the style of the wings, that it was an Israeli plane. I ran back to the tank, I dove into the turret. There's a panel, a material panel, orange panel, spread it out on the top of the tank. He came down on us, and just as he was about to release, he saw the panel and he went back up. He didn't release the bomb on us. This was about 2 o'clock, about
What was
4.
the panel for?
It's a panel that the Israeli armies use to identify broken vehicles, or that it's one of us.
So he realized that you were Israeli.
Yeah. Around 4 o'clock, a Jeep pulls up to where we were. He says in another half hour there'll be 3 tanks coming here to pull you out. 3 tanks came, they pulled me out, and the Jeep said, follow me. My company was going this way. When he said follow me, I was going this way. Okay, I followed him, and that's where I started to get into trouble. Because when I followed him, it means I left my unit, where I was written down and registered as a member, and he brought me, he says, follow me, you'll go into this unit here. And I'm following him, it's dark. He says he stopped the Jeep, climbed on the tank and told me in another kilometer, you'll see tanks, pull in behind them as the last tank, and then go talk to the commander. Fine. In general, I'm heading in the general direction of the Suez Canal. I still don't know where the enemy is. So for my own safety, there are 3 machine guns on the tank, 3 machine guns are loaded. There's a 105mm cannon, a shell in the cannon. The safeties are off, all I have to do is press a trigger and everything starts to fire. And the tank is driving, and about, I don't know, maybe 100 meters in front of me, I see tanks. I'm trying to figure out what's happening. I tell my gunner to put the crosshairs on the last tank, because it's not like our tank. And there were stories the day before I heard of Israeli tanks getting mixed up with Egyptian tanks, Egyptian tanks getting mixed up with Israeli tanks. Okay, and I told my driver to keep moving slowly, slowly, slowly. The gunner, I said, don't put your fingers on the trigger, but if I yell fire, everything goes. Anyways, I was brought into another unit, a different type of tank completely. I was on a Centurion. The tanks in front of me were Pattons. I jump off the tank after I close down all the safety switches, run to the commander, and it happens to be one of my friends that I was with when I was in regular service. He says, what are you doing here? I says, I don't know, what are you doing here? He said, I don't know. They sent me here, so I'm here. There's a lot of things that we could laugh at in the morning. And it was completely crazy. Completely crazy. In the end, the unit that I had joined was a unit, there was 12 tanks, and we were attached to Sayeret Matkal, to the commander-in-chief of the Israeli army. We were his armored special unit. We were given special jobs back and forth and up and down, all kinds of places that he needed quick action. I took part in stopping the Third Army from getting. They had already crossed the canal at Kantara, and they tried to break through into Sinai, into the northern part of Sinai. I was one of the tanks that stopped them. In one day, I personally knocked out 10 Egyptian tanks and a number of half-tracks. But on that day also, I was shot at by an Egyptian tank and mortar, and I took a piece of shrapnel in my helmet.
This one inside?
Inside. My officer said to me, when I showed him that, he said, "You take the helmet home and put it in a place where you'll see it every day to remind yourself." Eventually, we had managed to stop the frontal attack of the Egyptian army. My commander ran over a landmine, and I had to give him my tank because it was more important. He thought it was more important that he'll be in the field, and I should go back to the garage, which was down the road, to try and repair his tank. We're talking now Sukkot already, where I'm at the staging grounds, about 50 kilometers back from the Suez Canal. I'm sitting in the sukkah with a bunch of other guys for supper, and all of a sudden there's an artillery attack exactly on the base where I was. So everybody runs to take cover. I jump out the sukkah through the window. There was a foxhole. Jump to the foxhole on top of 4 other guys. A bomb explodes on a tank that was right beside where I was. There was a guy on the tank at the time loading it with ammunition. It exploded. The bomb exploded right beside him. He fell into the tank, dead. But because we needed the tank, me and 2 other guys worked all night with pails, sponges, and plastic bags to take him out of the tank. Went back to the front line.
Did you bury him? Did you bury him?
No, we gave him over to the Tevra Kadisha.
Do you know who he was?
They were in there?
No, no.
Was he in pieces or he was?
You have to remember, we're going to backtrack a little bit. I'm 23 years old, Canadian, never seen violent death before, and all of a sudden all this is falling on me.
Were you terrified then?
No,
Still?
not terrified. A little stunned,
With
a little
bombs and
stuck.
everything, you cried?
not terrified. Definitely not terrified. Trying to keep myself together, trying to make sure that I get through it. About 2 days later, no, the following day, I went back to my unit. We're talking already October 22nd, the first ceasefire. The first ceasefire, I crossed the Suez Canal at night. My driver of the tank, my unit, we crossed, I don't know, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning, everybody's tired. And you had to go down a slope on the canal to get to the water. And then we went across a bridge that was called Gesher HaGlilim. It was barrels, big, enormous barrels that were together, one after the other. It was like going like this. Okay, my gunner takes, not my gunner, my driver, we get to the edge of the barrel. He says, I'm going. Behind us is a convoy of trucks, artillery, tanks, and I'm not driving. I said, what's the matter? He said, tanks don't float. Why should the tank float? No, if I go off the bridge, tanks don't float. And 10 minutes, I'm yelling at him, people are yelling at me, and forget it, not going, don't want to go. Until I convinced him to open up his hatch, lift up his seat, so half of his body would be out of the tank. I said, if the tank starts to go off the bridge, you jump out. You asked about psychology and give advice. That was my advice to him. You jump out. Up and down, up and down, up and down. We get to the Egyptian side. We're in Africa. We're on the continent of Africa. We go up the sand dune and we start driving south towards the city of Suez. As soon as we get up the sand dune, there's the smell of garlic.
Why?
Garlic. That was the association that I saw. And I couldn't figure it out. There's no fields. It's sand dunes. And I had no idea until there was more light. And then I saw the dogs carrying an arm or carrying half a body. The dead Egyptian bodies that got cooked in the sun for the past 4 or 5 days smelled like garlic.